Good afternoon. I'm Phil Coward. I have a vested interest in this. I probably as big a vested interest as anybody because I happen to own quite a few residential properties in the vicinities. It's to my interest to make sure that whatever's done there is the best possible thing, and that's why I'm here.
We have great ideas and things to do in Paramore and the city, and we cannot get bogged down with the silliness of folks who are out for their own personal gain.
I will say that I totally agree with Bruce Gordy and David Van Gelder. I was quite surprised to see Bruce here today, and I know he spoke from the heart. Okay, so what I want to spend the rest of my time speaking about is what I think we're here to talk about today, and that's this contract. I've written hundreds of contracts. I've been a real estate broker, I've been a real estate developer, I've been a home builder. So I know a little something about real estate contracts. And the reason I want you to know that is in all the years that I've been reading real estate contracts and development deals, I've never seen one as outrageously one-sided as this one.
The lies they would tell, the misinformation they would spread, the absolute hatred they have for Paramore, except when it brings personal financial gain to their own pockets. I don't get a penny for anything.
This is a special deal made for special friends of special people, number one. Or number two, the city must always use this system. This must be the standard operating procedure for the city. And if this is a standard operating procedure for the city, I want you to know y'all are giving away the company store.
Let me clarify this first, Mayor Dyer. I've been here 9 years. I met Patrick Aliou 6 or 7 years ago. He is no special friend, but I like him. I know Patrick. I know him personally. I know his wife. I know his mama. I know all of them.
Let me tell you this. I was reading the contract. David Van Gelder somehow got a copy of it a couple of days ago, and he gave it to me, and I was reading it one evening, and I'm sitting there, and I get to page 3. And I get to a line in page 3, and I read it once, and I read it twice, and I read it 3 times. I said, this can't mean what this says. So I asked my English major wife, what does this sentence mean to you, Patty? And you know what she said? She said, this sentence means this contract doesn't mean anything. That's exactly what I thought it meant too. And I want to tell you, this contract doesn't mean anything. It's the only contract I've ever seen 50 pages long that's full of so many holes that it doesn't mean anything. You know, I often wonder, what would happen if the citizens and the taxpayers and the voters and maybe Lawson Lamar knew the following things? Number one, that there was no deposit on this contract. Have you ever seen a developer buy a piece of property and not put up a deposit? No deposit on this contract. What about the buyer can walk away at any time with no risk? You ever hear of a contract like that? That's what this one says. And then there's an interesting subject. There's a point in there that says the buyer gets a 1-year due diligence period, and then talks about environmental questions. Are y'all telling me that the city of Orlando has owned most of this stuff for 10 years and there's still some question about the potential for environmental questions? What about everything in this contract can be renegotiated at a later time? What kind of contract is that?
So I think those roguish ideas of implication and implying some kind of relationship that somebody benefits is absolutely just that, roguish and libelous and everything else that these folks come with garbage every meeting.
What about the relationships of all the principals of this organization with other folks that have recently got city-owned and sold Paramore sweetheart deals, and I underline it? Anybody got any questions about any of that? What about the only other responder to this untimely RFP agreed to a much lower risk development and, in my view, a higher opportunity deal for the city than now is considered? What about the rules of the game have changed many times, always to the benefit of the proposed developer and to the detriment of the RFP contestant, the other contestant, and the city and its taxpayers? That a recently retired city attorney negotiated this deal for the developer. What about that?
Every lie that can be told, every piece of truth that can be bent, everybody who does benefit financially from things that we do in Paramore always speak loud and wrong and imply evil, mean things. But they have not contributed one thing to the betterment of the people of Paramore.
You know, what I really believe would happen if the citizens and the taxpayers and the voters of Orlando knew what was going on here, and I respectfully suggest this, that if an elected official voted for this deal, one of three things would happen. Number one, they'd be recalled for incompetence. Number two, they'd probably be adjudicated insane. Or number three, they'd be indicted.
All right, that was your close.
I'll close now. The question everyone needs to ask is, who benefits from this deal? Do the citizens and taxpayers of the city of Orlando benefit from it? Do the displaced working poor benefit from it? No, only PSA and PSA's friends seem to benefit. Thank you.
And we're selling the affordable at $198,000. There's a heck of a lot of profit in that. Plus, you get the ship down. Plus, you get the ship. Plus, you get down payment assistance for affordable housing. Wow, I agree with Commissioner Gordy. I want that deal. Although if I did that, I'd be in jail.
I don't know him anymore. Then I know a lot of the folks that I like and appreciate and we do business with. I knew him personally. I knew his mama.
I have more concern about the benefit to a community of doing construction in a community. Those jobs don't even come to that community. We're sending all the jobs to Tampa. Like I say, $198,000 for the affordable? The math just doesn't make sense to me. And these are going to range up to $350,000. Somebody's making a lot of money.
Please, let's give the commissioner in District 5, let's give her something.
Somebody's making a lot of money.
Please, let's give the commissioner in District 5, let's give her something. Daisy, I think you got to go. So you got to go with it, we got to go with it, and I will approve it.
Thank you.
I think back-loaded alleys where people don't have eyes on the street and they're actually approaching their homes from the rear is not good from a crime prevention through environmental design standpoint. Again, no benefit from the construction jobs to the Paramore community. If the numbers don't add up, I just cannot support a deal that is this bad.
You know, it's the best way to describe some of the testimony would be at best disingenuous to in any way suggest that any member of this council, city government, or anything else has any financial incentive toward helping to revitalize Paramore. I just find that disgusting.
They don't want people to live decently in Paramore. For whatever reason, it has to be some kind of personal gain.
It is heavy lifting doing anything in Paramore.
Yes,
it is. I have very quickly found you can do it in Thornton Park and you can do it in downtown and everybody's going to be for it, but you go try to do it over in Paramore and you just attract the flies.
And all of a sudden, for different roguish reasons, we have all of the intrusion and ideas that have nothing to do with the people there, but with opportunities for other folks to make money.
But you go try to do it over in Paramore and you just attract the flies. And you just attract the flies.
But I think there are some members of this community who have been demonized for coming forward. And personally, I don't understand why. I think that regardless, we don't have to like the people who come before us, but we have a responsibility to listen to them. And I'll tell you folks, if we don't listen to them and if we don't investigate these things and if we just vote yes and trust everything to fall into place, then shame on us.
All we've got to do is wait and see. My concern is how do we move these visions forward without overwhelming a community and literally wiping the indigenous people out? Will not be minority for long. We're going to guarantee that. You give me 3 years and there will not be, well, never mind. Over 5,000 people in Paramore have left. We want some people to come back. And they're not going to be the 5,000 who left. And that's okay. How do you advocate home ownership when the very people you want there cannot afford to live in the place?
Who benefits from this deal?